What happens when a former president of the United States openly defies a court order after the Supreme Court itself has already said no more appeals? This is not political drama. This is not cable news exaggeration. This is a real legal moment that is now testing the strength of American institutions in a way we have never seen before. Donald Trump is no longer just fighting political opponents. He is standing face to face with the authority of the courts, and the consequences could reshape how the rule of law is understood in America. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will understand why this moment is far bigger than one man, one case, or one election. For years, Donald Trump has navigated investigations, lawsuits, and criminal charges by delaying, appealing, and challenging the system at every step. That strategy worked for a long time, but this time, something different happened. After months of legal maneuvering, the U.S. Supreme Court rejected Trump's final appeal. That decision was supposed to close the door. The legal process had spoken. The order was clear. And yet, instead of complying, Trump defied the court order, triggering intense legal and political scrutiny almost immediately. Before we go any further, if you value calm, fact-based explanations without shouting or spin, take a second to like this video and subscribe to Logic Unlocked. It helps the channel grow and ensures you don't miss clear breakdowns of major legal and political moments like this one. Now let's continue, because this is where the stakes become very real. To understand why this moment matters, you have to understand how rare it is. In the United States, court orders are not suggestions. They are binding. When courts issue an order, compliance is not optional, even for powerful individuals. In fact, the legitimacy of the entire system depends on the idea that no one is above the law. Presidents, former presidents, billionaires, and everyday citizens are all expected to follow the same rules once the courts have ruled. The Supreme Court's refusal to hear Trump's final appeal was especially significant. The court does not take most cases. When it declines an appeal, it is essentially saying that the lower court's ruling stands and must be followed. There is no higher authority to turn to. That is why defying a court order after such a decision crosses a serious line. It moves the issue from legal disagreement into potential contempt of court, and possibly much more. Trump's defenders argue that he is being unfairly targeted, that the legal system is being weaponized, and that extraordinary circumstances justify extraordinary resistance. His critics argue the opposite. They say this is a direct challenge to the rule of law, and that allowing defiance without consequences would create a dangerous precedent for future leaders. What makes this moment unique is that both sides understand how high the stakes are, even if they disagree on the interpretation. Legal experts quickly pointed out that defying a court order is not symbolic, it carries real consequences. Courts have enforcement powers. Judges can impose fines, sanctions, and in extreme cases, even detention. While the idea of a former president facing such consequences may sound unthinkable to some, the legal framework does not make exceptions based on past office. That tension between legal theory and political reality is exactly what makes this situation so volatile. George Conway and other constitutional lawyers have emphasized that this is not about politics. It is about institutional survival. Courts do not have armies. They rely on legitimacy and compliance. If high-profile figures openly ignore court orders and face no consequences, public trust erodes. Once trust erodes, the system weakens for everyone, not just political figures. Another layer that cannot be ignored is timing. This is happening in an already polarized political environment. With an election cycle looming and public confidence in institutions under strain, every legal move, every public statement, and every enforcement decision is now viewed through a political lens. That makes it harder for the justice system to act decisively without being accused of bias, even when following established law. Trump's response to the scrutiny has followed a familiar pattern. He frames the situation as persecution, casts doubt on the legitimacy of the courts, and appeals directly to public support. This strategy is effective politically, but legally risky. Courts are not swayed by rallies or social media posts. Judges respond to compliance, not popularity. And when defiance becomes public, the pressure on the judiciary to act increases, not decreases. This is where the conversation shifts from Trump as an individual to the future of American democracy. Democracies rely on losers accepting outcomes, whether in elections or in courts. When legal decisions are treated as optional, the system begins to resemble something else entirely. That is why even people who strongly support Trump politically are watching this moment carefully. The question is no longer just about one case. It is about whether rules still mean what they are supposed to mean. There is also a broader international impact. The United States often presents itself as a model of democratic governance and rule of law. When a former president defies a court order after the Supreme Court has spoken, it sends a message far beyond U.S. borders. Other countries watch closely. Authoritarian leaders take notes. Allies ask questions. The credibility of American legal norms is part of American power, and moments like this test that credibility. As days pass and pressure builds, every option carries risk. If courts enforce the order aggressively, critics will claim political motivation. If they do nothing, critics will claim weakness. There is no path without controversy. But the absence of action may carry the greatest long-term cost, because it signals that defiance can work if the person defying the law is powerful enough. This is why many legal analysts say this moment will be studied for decades, not because of the personalities involved, but because of the precedent it could set. Future presidents, governors, and officials will look back and ask a simple question. What happened when a former president said no to the courts? If you are still watching, you are already engaging with the kind of issue that rarely gets explained clearly. These are not soundbite stories. They are slow-moving, high-impact moments that shape the rules everyone lives under. And that is exactly why Logic Unlocked exists, to go beyond headlines and explain what is actually at stake. As this situation continues to unfold, one thing is certain. The outcome will not just affect Donald Trump. It will affect how Americans understand accountability, power, and the limits of authority. Whether the system holds firm or bends under pressure will define how strong it truly is. Before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. Do you think courts should enforce their orders the same way, regardless of who is involved? Or should former presidents be treated differently because of political stability concerns? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this is a conversation that matters. And if this breakdown helped you understand the issue more clearly, share this video with someone who needs to see the bigger picture. This is Logic Unlocked, where we explain the moments that shape democracy, not just the ones that trend. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.